How would you like to earn money by helping businesses build a presence in the metaverse? I'm going to show you how I do that step by step. And no, you do not need any coding skills. But first, what is the metaverse? Think of the metaverse as the next stage of the internet. Before the internet, we could only make a phone call to a store. With the web, we could go to their website or app and see their products. The metaverse takes that further. You will be using a VR headset to fly or teleport to their place, like this dental office, for example. Unlike pictures or video on a website, VR lets you really see what this office is like. And right now, I can only look around, but in the future, you could, for example, book an appointment or talk to an AI assistant. If this were a store, you could see 3D objects that you could examine before buying them.
Now, of course, most people right now are not using VR headsets to go through Google Earth on a day-to-day basis to look for things to buy. But we're already using a basic version of this metaverse when we use Google Street View. So for example, on Google Street View, I can click on See Inside this building and get a virtual tour inside the building. It's actually pretty similar to what we saw on Google Earth, except that we weren't using VR headsets. And in fact, that's what Google does. It's using Google Street View to create Google Earth. Now, the cool thing is you don't need coding skills to create a tour like this. I know because I was the one who created this tour. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a tour like this too with a 360 camera. Now, if you've never used a 360 camera before, you might be wondering, one, which 360 camera to get, and two, is it hard to use? Well, don't worry, it's a lot easier to use than you think. And by the end of this video, I promise that you'll know how to use at least some of these 360 cameras to create your own virtual tours. Let's get started. This is the Ricoh Theta SC2. The main benefit of this is that it's super easy to use. First, I get a monopod or a selfie stick, and I'm gonna press the power button to turn it on. And then I press the shutter. It starts counting down. And that's it. It's taken a 360 photo.
After taking the photos, I just plug in the camera to my PC or Mac, and then all my photos are going to show up here. It's a little bit distorted. Don't worry, this is the standard format for 360 photos. So just copy these files to your hard drive. On Google Maps, I look for the place where I took the photo. For example, Hilton Garden Inn, Redondo Beach. I click the business name and scroll down. You'll see a button that says Add Photos. Click on that and upload your photo of the place. After a few minutes, you can check the place again on Google Maps. Under Photos, in the Street View section, you should now see your new photo. Now in this case, I uploaded only one photo. If you want to upload multiple photos that are linked to each other, kind of like in the dental office demo that I did, I'm going to show you how to do that in my HQ Lite class. Check out the link in the description below.
So let's talk about its pros. The main advantage is that it's super easy to use. But when you're shooting like this without any app, then the dynamic range can be limited. So you'll see windows are blown out. Now it does have an HDR mode, but you do need to use its app, its phone app, to be able to shoot in HDR. Now, in terms of disadvantages, one of them is that the SC2 doesn't have a RAW mode. So if you're a more experienced photographer, or if in the future you want to edit your photos more, then you won't be able to have as much flexibility in editing them because you'll be stuck with JPEG. Now, the Theta SC2 is one of the more affordable 360 cameras. It's available for just $300 or less. And the second camera that I want to talk about is the Theta SC2 for business. The difference between the SC2 and the SC2 for business is that the business model has HDR as its default mode. So you don't have to use the app. You can just take a photo and it will automatically be in HDR. So it makes it much easier to use. Theta SC2 is available on theta360.com and for $330. Now, what if you wanted a 360 camera that was good, not just for 360 photos, but also with 360 videos? Then you might be interested in the GoPro Max. This is another camera that's very easy to use. Here, I'm just going to turn it on with by pressing the power button. And then it has a touch screen. Makes it easier to use. So I'm going to swipe the screen to switch to photo mode. And then I'm going to set it down and press the shutter. And that's it. So just like the Theta SC2, the photo is ready for use straight out of the camera. You just need to connect this to your desktop or with to your phone wirelessly, and then you'll be able to get that photo and post it to a virtual tour. So in terms of advantages, as I mentioned, this has great video quality, much better than the Theta SC2. It also has a touchscreen that makes it a little bit easier to use. Now, in terms of downsides, the photo on the GoPro Max doesn't have an HDR mode, so there's limited dynamic range. When you shoot from indoors, the windows are probably going to get blown out unless it's a very dark day. The photos also don't have horizon leveling, so if the camera is a little bit tilted or it's on incline, then the photo will also be tilted. And just like the Theta SC2, this doesn't have a RAW mode either. The GoPro Max is available for $400. Check out the link in the description below. Now, what if you like the simplicity of the Theta SC2 and the GoPro Max, but you wanted much better quality? Then you could be interested in the Theta Z1. This is like the big brother of the Theta SC2. It's the flagship of the Ricoh Theta series of cameras. And the way you use it is very similar to the Theta SC2. The difference is that it has a much larger sensor. It has a 1-inch sensor, which is the largest among 360 cameras for prosumers and consumers. The way you shoot it is very similar to the Theta SC2. Here, I'm just going to press the shutter and activated the self timer, and and just like the Theta SC2, the photo is stitched in the camera. You don't need to do anything to it. All you need to do is just download it straight from the camera to your PC or your phone. Now let's talk about its advantages. As you saw, it's really easy to use it. It also has excellent image quality because of its large sensor. And it has this menu that lets you shoot HDR without having to use the app, as long as you set it up correctly. Now, the main disadvantage of the Theta Z1 is the cost. It's $1,000. But, like I said, it has a really large sensor and the image quality is really good. So even when you become more experienced in the future, this camera can grow with you. Now, what if you wanted better image quality, like the Theta Z1, but you wanted something more affordable? In that case, you might be interested in the next 4 cameras that I'm going to talk about. Now, these 4 cameras are not as easy to use as the Theta Z1 or the SC2 or GoPro Max, but they can offer some significant advantages. If you're worried about cost, then this one is probably for you. This is called the Pivo Black, and it's not even a camera, it's a smart tripod. What's cool about it is, number one, the cost. It's only $200. And number two, it can create virtual tours with no monthly fees. That's right, no monthly fees ever. So makes it a good value. So how do you use it? Well, you actually use this with your smartphone. So I have the Pivo Tour app here. I'm just gonna launch it, and then I'm gonna turn on the smart tripod. And then I'm going to tap on Create Tour. and then I'm going to tap on connect. Then it's going to connect wirelessly to the Pivo. And once my phone is connected to the Pivo, I just tap on create tour, and then I mount it there, and then I tap on start. There's also an optional remote. Let me try it. Okay, I think it's starting to shoot. Yep, it's starting to shoot. And that's it. It's taking the 360 photo. So you saw that as it was turning, it was taking individual photos. And then the app is going to automatically combine those photos into a single 360 photo that you can then upload into its virtual tour or any virtual tour that you want. So I tap on finish, finish capturing, and there it is. The Pivo Black's image quality will vary depending on your camera. But if you have a reasonably new smartphone, then the image quality can be really good. In fact, arguably even better than the Theta Z1. But there are several downsides. First of all, because it's only turning around like that, then it's not good at capturing motion. For virtual tours, that's not a big deal because most of the time everything's stationary. But if you're outside shop or you're outside the building and you're taking a photo, then there will be people there walking, and some of them are going to look chopped or they're going to look duplicated or ghosted. Another issue is that the photos aren't fully spherical. So you can look around, but you can't look up or down. It's all just a blur. It's also automatic. There's no manual exposure. So if you wanted to tweak the exposure, you couldn't. And it doesn't have horizon leveling. And I found that it had an issue with my iPhone. I used it with an iPhone 13 Pro Max, and I found that the images were out of focus. So I would recommend this only for Android for now until they fix that for iOS. So notwithstanding these issues, if your priority is low cost, then the Pivo Black is a very good value. If you want images that have good quality and are fully spherical, but it's more affordable than the Theta Z1, then check out the Trizio. This is a new 360 camera. The first time I saw it, I thought it looked pretty bizarre because it doesn't work like other 360 cameras. It only has one lens. And instead, it just rotates automatically, kind of like the Pivo in that sense. But this one is specifically designed for 360 photos, so it can take fully spherical images. Now, it's very easy to use. All you have to do is turn it on. I'm turning it on right now. And you don't even need the app, unlike the Pivo.
Medium.
And then I just press the shutter. Then it's gonna analyze the scene. So it's gonna rotate. Oh, sorry, I put it on self-timer. So that's why there was a delay. But it analyzes the scene, then it's taking the shot. Okay, that's the analysis. Now it's taking the shot. First shot. Second shot. Third shot. And fourth shot. That's it. Now, unlike the Ricoh Theta SC2 or Z1 or GoPro Max, you do need to connect this to your app in order to get the photos. So to get the photos from the Trizio, first you launch the Trizio app. And then from there, we're going to tap on this camera icon to connect. Then we're going to tap on connect. Then we're going to go to the Wi-Fi screen. Let's go from here, tap on Wi-Fi, and to wait for the Trizio network to show up, you tap on that. Now when there's a check mark, you can go back to the app. Now we're connected. From there, you go to the album, and And then you tap on the camera tab to look for photos that are in the camera.
Then tap on the photo you want or tap batch stitch to get all the shots.
Tap on this. It takes a few seconds. It's a little bit faster than Pivo Black though. So here it is, and here's the photo. If you want to download it, then tap on the download button in the upper right corner. Now it's going to be in your phone album. So albums, look for the album called Trizio. Here's the photo we just took. The photo quality of the Trizio is excellent. Detail is really good. Almost as detailed as the Theta Z1, if you can believe that. And also it has very good dynamic range. Another important advantage of the Trizio is that it has excellent stitching. When you're using a 360 camera, if you shoot it with the side facing an object and that object is near the camera, then you'll have stitching errors. They could look like ghosting, or sometimes a part of it will look like it got chopped off. With the Trizio, on the other hand, the stitching can be very good even when they're pretty close to the camera. But it does have several disadvantages. First of all, because it's not a true 360 camera, it takes multiple photos to take a single 360 photo, then it has some of the same disadvantages as the Pivo Black. So for example, if someone's walking, then there could be some duplicate people. Second, right now it's totally automatic. I have no control over the exposure. And for experienced shooters, it doesn't have a RAW mode either. Another issue is that if you're taking a lot of photos, then it's a little bit inconvenient to use the phone app to stitch your photos. Now, if you look at images from the Trizio straight out of the camera, they don't look very impressive, but it's really easy to make them look great. And if you want a free tutorial on how to do that, check out the link in the description below. What if your top priority is image quality? Like you don't care so much about ease of use as much as image quality. Well, for that, you might be interested in the XPhase. The XPhase is the highest resolution 360 camera on the market right now. It can take photos that are 135 megapixels stitched. For a camera that looks so complicated, it's actually not that difficult to shoot with it. So I'm going to hold down the power button. Okay, that beep. That beep tells me that it's ready to shoot. Now, you don't need to shoot with the app. All you need to do is like double click on it or triple click on it. If you press once, it's going to shoot right away. Double click, I think it's a 5-second self timer. Then triple click is a 10-second self timer. So I'm just going to double click this and it's going to start shooting. And when it's done, you'll hear a beep. That's it. It's done shooting. Now, just like the Trizio, it does need to stitch the photos in the app. So you need to connect to it wirelessly with your phone, or you can take out the thumb drive that it has for storage and connect that to your PC, where you can use the desktop app to stitch. In terms of image quality, like I said, it has amazing detail, as much detail as a DSLR. It also has excellent dynamic range, more dynamic range than any of the other 360 cameras that we looked at. However, this camera is not for everyone because the photos need significant editing.
This is how XPhase photos look when it's stitched in the app. You need to know how to edit it to make it look good. And even after fixing the lighting, it can have bizarre glare artifacts that also take time and skill to fix.
The XPhase 2 is $979 for the basic version, and then there's a higher end version called the XPhase X2, which is $1,379. Now you might be wondering, which camera do I use when I shoot virtual tours? And the answer is that I use a mirrorless camera, or what some people call a DSLR. Why? When I shoot with a 360 camera, it has a small sensor, and to get really good image quality from it takes a lot of editing time. I kind of almost feel like it's squeezing blood from a turnip, if you know what I mean. With a DSLR, you have a large sensor and produces great image quality. And I'd rather spend extra 2 minutes shooting with a DSLR to save like 30 minutes or an hour of editing time. So that's why I shoot with a DSLR most of the time. Now, the good news is that shooting with a DSLR is a lot easier than it looks, and you can learn how for free. If you want to learn to do that, check out this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in 360.